So I'm going to start with where we stopped last time. And um, yeah, so just a reminder that really we're coming here to anchor in the beginning of the week. And I don't know what kind of Shabbat you had, what kind of weekend you had, what you're holding, whatever they're holding. So we're coming here really to just have a little reminder of that we have a soul, that it's good, that it's radiating, that we can go back to it, that we can balance and balance again. And to enter that space, we're doing a few things. So one thing, and we're going in and out, right? Because it's Monday, and I know that then we're going into the week. So for our sacred space to walk in, what I'm asking you to have is first, if you can, I would love everybody to have something to drink, a pen and a paper, pens in our body and in the places where we are. So we're going to remember that body and be grateful for that body and for that embodiment. And something that helps me is just to have like a drink so that I'm kind of like, engaging with my body. And the way we're doing our work is with writing, and we're writing with our hand, as Yemima taught us, that the words should go through the body. We should. Second thing that we're going to do to enter is to take a moment to just check in with ourselves and see what do we need to leave in the threshold as we're walking into this anchoring sacred space. And it can be as simple as like asking myself, what is moving in me? What's going on for me this morning? How am I? Just to stop for a sec. And it can also be like, oh, these thoughts about my kid, my grandkid, this financial thing, this work thing that are running in my head all the time, I'm going to leave them here to wait for me for just 30 minutes, and I'm going to go back to them when I'm out of here. But for now, we want to give them space. So we're going to give them space on the paper. So we're going to take 1 minute to do our threshold setting. So a question I'm always using is just what's moving in me? And what do I need to leave here as I'm walking in? So let's take a minute, and I'm going to call you back in just a minute. Hey, thank you so much. Let's take a few more seconds to wrap up, and we'll come back together. Right. So the goal of these classes or gatherings is really to learn together Torah that can anchor us. And this is our Monday morning ritual to walk into the week. Monday morning for a lot of us is a transitional time from Shabbat to the weekdays. For those who work, transitional time from rest back into efficiency. For those who do things that are not considered work but are tasks, also going back from kind of like more of a flow into task mode. And that transition can sometimes be hard, and especially these days when the news, for those who don't look at news on the weekend, on Shabbat, or whatever, when we're going back into the week, the news can be very hard to the level that it's shocking. And what we were wanting to do with the anchoring is really to use this idea that in face of shock, there are three things we can do. One thing we can do is we can act, right? We can do all kinds of actions. Another thing we can do is to engage emotionally. We can be angry, we can be sad, we can be in awe, we can do all kinds of things where we are hit by a shock. And the third thing is we can distance ourselves. We can like say, all these things are just the things that we do, the humans do when shock meets them. And the question is how to do them in a way that promotes our well-being and brings us close to ourselves. So really our goal and hope and work in this meeting, in our Monday morning ritual in SVIVAH, in Ogen, is to say, we are going to act together, to come together as a community, to do learning that is nourishing and that is anchoring. This work is going to be our way to engage with our emotions, not to neglect them, to pay attention to what is moving for us. Where are we? What is it that these emotions working with us, and how do we work with them? And to distance ourselves in the healthy way, which is not to be in a place of detachment, but to be in a place of rest, to a place of self-care and a place of attention. And as we said last time, and I'll say it every time, attention is the currency in our days, and everybody wants our attention. And part of the action that we're doing is to claim back our attention, that it's okay to not pay attention for a million things that are coming at us, but to pay attention to what's going on, even to the most like very basic things. Am I hungry? Am I tired? What's going on even in my body? Am I angry? Am I sad? Am I just exhausted? Am I all these things? Just to pay attention. The moment we even have language to see what's going on, of course, we can start playing with and moving around. So that's the anchor. That's why we called it Ogen, which in Hebrew means anchor. And I will today mention a little more about why we chose the word Ogen. So we took our drink and our paper and our pen, and we checked in what's moving in me. And I want to also do a last thing to connect us as we're walking into this space. And this is to read to you our own words. Our words are, according to Yemima, our words are the bodies of energy. So words really reverberate with us. They have a frequency. And when we are finishing anchor, we're always taking one word that we want to act on for the week. And I want to just read for us the words from last week to connect us to where to our commitment. And then I want to read to you new words, the words of Yemima from a chelek preparation for Nisan, beautiful chelek, and we'll do some work with that. Specifically, we will learn two tools that we can work with for this week. So here's our words from last week. What is the question was one Torah I'm walking with for the week, something I want to walk with for the week. And the words you said were, and you're welcome to write to yourselves words that still resonate with you, okay? Let the words go through your body, feel their energy, and write to yourselves the words that resonate with you that you want to open with. Here they are: peace, growth, remember, intentionality, be, enough, connection, compassion and grounding, looking for grounding. Let it be. I am who I am. I am walking with being who I am. And I'm also in prayer. Pause and someone else. Drink, breathe, sing. Prayers help. Presence. acceptant for what is not mine. Working on myself helps not only me, but also others. And the last one, sorry, nourishing. So thank you so much for your words from last week. And if you have a word that really kind of like resonated with you, just please put it in the chat so that we can have our words for today, the words that will anchor us down. All right. So last entrance, just a little bit of music. Music helps us also turn back to our frequency, and then we're going into the reading. And this melody for me is a melody that I know for the priestly blessing for peace, and I'm going to sing it once. Hoy, tidi da 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 ya da 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 ay ay hoy 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 tidi ay 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 tidi da ay 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 tidi ay da da ay tidi da ay. Okay. I'm also just trying to see the chat. Okay, we have words. Yay, prayer, presence, stillness, perseverance, tolerance, joy, intentionality, grounding. Okay, wonderful. Surrender, peace, great. Oh my gosh, just to even remember these words is so helpful for me, to just have them in my mind. Thank you for your words. Our short learning for today comes again from Yemima Avital, a teacher that we have learned her, we learned her teachings many times, and I'm sure in the email follow-up, we can also send a few articles that we have about her. But she was a big spiritual teacher in Israel in the 80s and 90s and had a lot of impact on me. Her teachings always stem from one place, and she says always, like, to come close to yourself, this is the work. All the work is really to turn towards yourself. The soul is already there. The soul journey is already there. Our work is really to balance and balance again, which in her words means to let go of emotional effort and turn to ourselves. When something happens and we're like feeling that we're going to be against ourselves, we're stuck, we're against ourselves, we're angry at ourselves, we're sad and blaming ourselves. If these things happen, and they happen all the time and they're natural and human and everything, just to remember, the work is to remember. It's not innovating anything. We're not achieving anything. We're not going anywhere. We're just remembering all the time, just to remember the most basic stuff. And, today I was walking in the morning and taking my son to daycare, and naturally, and Yemima taught this many times, naturally, she called it the natural order is to say, oh, and I don't have this doesn't work. And if she said in the right order, Haseder Anachon, is to actually flip, to just stop for a moment before you pay attention to everything that doesn't work, and just pay attention to the most basic things that work. And sometimes it's more than basic things. For example, that I breathe in and out, that the sun is rising, that there are flowers and fauna and flora as I'm walking in the street, all these very basic things that in some places, I was like, in some places people have to push a stroller on like really hard heel tops, and I'm just walking straight. Not in a Pollyanna kind of like, oh, everything is fine. A lot of things are not, but to just pay attention to the most basic and to the soul that is all the time flowing, the frequency that all the time flows. And last time we mentioned that something really amazing is that we have a frequency inside each one of us, the soul, and everybody around us also have a frequency. And when we're thinking about each other as creatures that are anchored in energy, right? Of course, we can look at ourselves differently too. We're also psychological creatures. We're also biological creatures, all kinds of things, but we're also spiritual creatures. And if we're thinking about that, Yemima said the work is to anchor your frequency, and people will feel it. People will feel it. So the action of self-care is actually a really big thing to do because it has impact. It reverberates with everybody else's energy. And that's what we really focused on last time. And the question that I want to look into today is, okay, so what are things I can do to keep that frequency in a good place? To not have like very high waves, but to have like waves, yeah, waves are normal, but to have waves that are in a place that I feel good, that I feel that I'm able to flow, that I'm able to accept and work. So I want to share with you uh, apart from Yemima, I'm going to read it, and what I'm asking you to do is called sometimes blackout poetry. So I'm going to read her teaching. It's not a very short teaching, it's actually a longer teaching. And I want you to write to yourselves the words that catch your ear, okay? The words that stick out to you. And I'm going to read through 3 paragraphs. Don't feel rushed to write the whole dictation. Just write to yourself the words that stick with you, and then please put them for us in the chat, and we'll talk about 2 things that we can learn from there, but there might be, of course, many others. Okay, so this is an introduction to Nisan, the new month that we're going to celebrate next week, the month of Pesach, the first month in the Jewish calendar, in some ways, and the beginning of spring. And she gives this teaching orally in a year where there were a lot of terror attacks, and she speaks about Nisan and about the feeling of being with this kind of like hard things. The gravity, stringency of Nisan, and also the joy of Nisan are balanced weights, obligating to purify for internal purification. Each one of us is a spark within the collective soul of the people of Israel. And whoever purifies themselves well in practice adds light. Take care also of herself and her emotions, her soul. Be attentive. If she did not take care of herself, her mind, her neshama, she would be careful. She should not worry, for that will descend her into sadness, loneliness. And also, in a woman's insight, with the insight, the woman sustains great love in her home from the spark she received, like every Jew, relating to what is happening. It's forbidden for the people to descend into its sadness. I'm in all of this, and I'm also in prayers. Personally, spiritually, I know that it will be good. It indeed pains all who hurt, all who are hurt. The days will tell how good it will be. Everyone will be surprised. Yes, yes, yes. The only thing to do is prayer. Only not to come close to that which we see is not ours. Turn in prayer that the people of Israel will be protected. Ask for mercy, that the decrees will not continue. Let times come when all of this will end, and with this may come quickly right understanding. Strengthen yourself with faith, emunah. Pray to be strong. The Jewish heart is a sensitive heart. If the heart sinks into its sadness, because of a lack of understanding, it becomes so sad that it descends. The heart closes emotionally. Storms, then it departs from well-aligned emotion that it has and turns it into a lower feeling, encountering the opposite of love. Then it descends in a way that it can be hurt. So please take a minute to just be with the words. And if you want to share in the chat a word or an insight, then please share it. And I'm just acknowledging this is the raw text. I didn't edit it for you. It's kind of like weird. That's how it is. It's not that you didn't understand. This is how this text is. But the way to understand it is actually not with analysis. So I'm just inviting you to put in the chat whatever came up for you from the words. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow. Internal purification, balance of gravity and joy. Gravity is stringency, but also joy. I heard a lot of mention of sadness, gravity, joy, love, take care of her soul, her mind, her neshama. There's nothing better to do than pray for the peace of Israel. Gravity, purity, light. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your words. I'm going to read all of them. For now, just because of time, I'm really drawing from your words, and it's always amazing. It I want to connect some of the things that were said here in the chat and some things that I prepped for us in the last minutes that we have. So one thing that people mentioned here is really the way she opens, and she says the gravity of Nisan and also the joy of Nisan are balanced weights, obligating to purify for internal purification. There is a term in Kabbalah, in our mystical tradition, that is called ratzo vashov, to go back and forth. In a way, sometimes we understand our life is that we need to go straight, linear, to reach somewhere, to go somewhere, and we need to be all the time in good mood. How are you doing? I'm good. How are you? I'm good, right? It's like we're supposed to be all the time one thing and feel one thing. Sometimes this is how we understand it from the world. This is how we are socialized. And Yemima says, Nisan is a time where we are learning to balance the gravity and the joy. These are two things that are balancing weights, obligating to purify. There is a movement, and that movement is healthy and natural and is the way that we live. And I'm thinking also of our breath. All the time goes in and out. It's never in one place. Our body feels better when we're walking. Our whole being is made of like things going back and forth. So my question about this to all of us is, what are two things that feel for us almost like opposites that we need to hold right now? What are for us as we're entering Nisan a gravity and a joy that we're holding together? And how can we write them down on our paper to remind ourselves that it's totally fine and actually a good thing that we have these two things that seem different in whatever situation in our life, and our work is to remember that it's okay to be flexible and move between them all the time, back and forth, the gravity and joy, the gravity and joy. That's a way of growth and growing. And by the way, this is also part of why we call this Ogen, not because anchoring is like you're there and you're not moving, but because Ogen in our tradition is also can be heard as oneg, pleasure, and nega, a wound. And anchor is to be able to move between our pleasures and our wounds, the things that we are they give us joy in the things that are gravity, and to see all of them as part of our soul journey. So we're moving between them, and it's ratzov v'shov. And it's okay to be serious and to be funny, and it's okay to move between things. It's a healthy thing for us. And the second thing, and I'm seeing already, Jordan, that I'm in a time. Oh my gosh. So I'll really just say one more sentence about this other teaching that you mentioned also in the chat. The second thing that Yemima mentions to us is bina. And that's in English insight or understanding. And Yemima says, for you to be grounded and bring warmth to yourself and your home and your loved ones and everyone who's around you, you need your bina, which means you need to trust your insight. And I'm giving all of us the permission to trust our insight and to write our insights, as small as they are. I think we'll start from here next time, because there's a lot to say about the bina and the insight. But for this week, I'm just inviting us for these two things: to be flexible, going back and forth, and to feel the life in that movement, in our anchor that is all the time in movement, in the ocean kind of movement of ratzov v'shov, of gravity and joy, and to ask, oh, what's my insight here? And to trust it. We're going to close with just one word, a Torah that you want to walk with for the week. Please put it in the chat. And then Jordan has two announcements, and we'll close the meeting. I'll stay here for another 5 minutes for people who want to ask more questions or talk more. Thank you so much. So one word, a Torah that you want to walk with for this week.
Thank you, Naama. Thank you so much. That is such a great way to start the week. I really appreciate it. For those of us on the East Coast, we're taking a little break from our day, and the West Coast just getting started. It's just so great to be here. I just wanted to remind everyone to join the WhatsApp group. The link is in your confirmation email that you got today to sign on, so you have it. We'll be sharing the recording soon, and I know folks had some questions about sharing the words from last week and the reading, and we'll get that all out to you soon. And don't forget, there'll be more Ogen next week. So if you can, please join us next week. And also this Wednesday, the 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be meeting to come together to learn about imposter syndrome and how that impacts people. So I hope that everyone can make it. And that is it for today. But like Naama said, she's going to hang around for a couple of minutes to answer any questions or to chat with people. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here today.
Yeah, I mean, you're just reminding me that when I started learning some years ago, I actually think that if you have resistance, that's a good sign usually. Like the material speaks to you. This is a material that is supposed to speak to you. And I remember my teacher, like many, many years ago, when I started really just in the beginning, she said to me, you have to come to 4 classes because you might have resistance, and you just have to be able to be with that too. That's also an emotion. And that's also teaching you something. And it's really interesting, actually. She said sometimes when you have resistance to chalakim chomer, to parts of the material, that's where there's something there for you. What's a burden there? What's bothering you there? And then yeah. So I feel like, it's that it's a good sign for me. Yeah, because of course also she had her own context in place and so on and so forth. But I think it's not just about the saying, oh, she's from a different time, whatever, we're in a different time. I think there really is something, at least the way I'm learning Yemima, because for me it's not about, okay, analyzing her words and understanding the history, and it's about really trying to see, can you hear the teachings with your non-analytical part? and what's happening there? And can you just do the most basic? So you know Yemima, so can you do the most basic work that she suggests, which is omes yesh, which is to learn yourself. It's like learning hungry, full, right? Omes yesh, without judging it, without like fixing it. Next week, spoiler alert, we're going to learn the third part of this chelek, where she says one of my all a word, like a sentence that when I read it first, I was like, it blew my mind. She says, "Aïe efshar letaken olam." It's impossible to fix the world. And the vakaza, you can't. There's no tikkun olam. Can you believe that? But it's not because there's nothing to do. It's because it's not that things are broken. It's not that you are ever not okay. And or that your thoughts are wrong or her thoughts are wrong. It's like the question is like what's happening in the intersections of energies. That's, I don't know. I hope it's not too abstracted. That's how I kind of like think about it sometimes. But yeah, I think for me there was something so amazing and calming when I first saw a text, a Jewish text written in the feminine. I was like, whoa, someone's speaking to me at last. It's not just like who, he, like, which means he. It's not just like about a kind of like male language all the time. It's like female language. It was actually very refreshing. Um, and yeah, but like, I just want to say, I have no doubt that that was not Yemima's intention. Uh, Definitely, I think there's no doubting me after learning her for so many years that she did not say purify yourself because you're wrong. Not at all. We are just learning here so fast, and maybe I should only bring like edited and processed parts because maybe it's just not fair for the people in the material to try to squeeze it in such a short time that we just have for the anchor. But just to say that Yemima's use of the word pure, which she uses in many places, is to say channeling. Basically, to say when you're pure, it means like you're open. It's not going from like a bad situation to a good situation. It's just like you're feeling blocked about something, and then pure means open. Now everything flows. Now everything feels like I'm in the flow, which she calls in Hebrew yesh. I feel the flow. The thing that we call here sometimes flow, I'm in a flow mode. Yemima called it yesh. When I feel like, oh, my life, my soul journey is coming to me and I'm in the flow and I can deal with it. It's not that everything is going to be sweet, pink, and perfect, but I think that a lot of her work, at least the way I understand it, is to give you agency to say you might not be able to change the conditions of your life, but you are able to deal with what's coming at you. And part of the work that she did, I think, is because she was a woman and taught women, and was able to just bring a Torah that is so personal, that is bringing the strength of women that sometimes, of course, were played down for many, many centuries, and to say, no, actually, that's a strength to know how to be with your emotions. It's a strength. It's not a problem. You're not. And she said that many times we do feel, of course, abstractions and barriers, and these are called omes. And these are just like strategies that we used as kids to protect ourselves. And now we're just using them and they're not helping us anymore. But we feel real things because we felt very vulnerable. And the work to do is all the time to remind ourselves this is omes. It's not here anymore. Um, so there's much more to say, but I do need to go soon. So what I want to do is, first of all, I'm putting here just like a short article that I wrote like last year. Maybe can be helpful. That speaks a little bit about Yemima. There's also a great article from Yael Unterman about Yemima, and there's a 4-part series that we did here in SVIVAH, Introduction to Yemima, the foundations, if people want to learn more about Yemima. But you also don't need to do any learning. I I mean, I just want to just assure all of us we are good. We're good. That's the basic. And we also have our soul journey, and we have our blocks and burdens, and we do the work to work with these block and burdens. And we're hopefully doing it here in community, to anchor, and it can feel exacerbated also when things outside are even less stable. So that's why we chose to do it right now. Thank you so much. I really am so happy that we spoke a little bit. Thank you, Shoshana and Shira. We will be here again next Monday at 9.